Thank you. Thank you very much, Regan. Good morning to the members of the media, the members of the public. Thank you very much for joining us on this Digicon. And today, I think specifically, winter is here. I think, Regan, as you opened up, talking about cold and wet and rainy. And of course, we have been saying all along that winter is going to start to put much more pressure on our energy system. And of course, Mr. Lester will be talking us through some of those pressures and possible impacts and consequences. For me, also, it is great to be able to welcome the CEO of Rheinmetall, a company who it's going to be great to hear from them talking about green hydrogen, the investment that they are putting in place. And we really want to showcase companies that are really putting investment in to solve their own energy solutions that are really going to help us with our future outlook on our carbon footprints, but also as a company that's really progressive in saying they can also invest into the future for other energy solutions for us here in South Africa. And that's really great to see. So, Jan Patrick, warm welcome to you. And then I think just to note in the last week for me, something that I want to point out is that we had our Energy Council on Monday. And it was really good to welcome the municipalities who were putting forward their bids. And you'll remember part of the 1.1 billion energy plan is we are calling for getting small towns in the province to be load shedding free. And this was the next stage in this process. And I want to thank those municipalities for their submissions. Our team is now analyzing those submissions. And so hopefully in a short while, we'll be able to go back and make a choice on those small towns. They can then go to market so we can actually get solutions in as quickly as possible. This year, we still want to remove the risk of load shedding in those specific towns as the next step in our energy resilience in the province. Perhaps one other item that was served at the Energy Council and also confirmed in Cabinet was that we can now go to market on the emergency packs, especially for indigent households. And I'm really happy that we're getting to that stage of the process so that we can move forward. But once again, thank you very much for joining us on this Digicon. And with that, I'm going to hand back to you, Regan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. And now we get to that point of the Digicon where we hand over to the Special Advisor on Energy to the Premier, Mr. Albie Lester, who will give us a weekly update on the energy situation generally in the country and the province. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Lester.
Hi, good morning, Regan. Thank you, Premier, and welcome to our guests today, as well as the citizens that are joining us on the session today. I'm going to share my screen. You must just let me know if you're able to see it. Just give me a second. Regan, are you guys able to see my screen?
We haven't, the presentation is not there yet. It's the link to the Digicon that's reflecting.
Okay, let me try one more time to share. Are you able to see it now?
Thank you, Mr. Lester.
Okay, perfect. So you can see it. Thank you very much. I thought today what I'd like to share is the sort of winter outlook for the year, and particularly with the colder spells getting to us, that, you know, maybe it'll be good for us to have a view of what's actually happening. So I think quite importantly is that if you look at what Eskom has been saying over the last week, they're saying that we need to stay at about 15,000 megawatts of unplanned loss factor, and that will keep us at stage 6. However, should the loss factor get to 18,000, that it's highly likely that the stage of load shedding will increase potentially to a stage 8. Now, I think what we need to understand here is that, one, is that the energy availability factor over the last few months has really not moved anywhere north of 53%, which means that 47% of the plant is not available. So your availability factor is not improved. They are managing the planned activities, so they're doing less planned maintenance in the winter, and I think the intention is to do more planned maintenance in the summer when the demand is slightly lower. But you will see an increase in demand in the next few weeks and months, and I think that this is likely to tip the scale in terms of us moving to deeper stages of load shedding. What the slide really just indicates is what's the best case to keep us at stage 6, and what would be the worst case, which takes us to the 18,000 megawatts of unplanned, and that will move us into a stage 8 of load shedding. Now, this is impacted, I think, quite a bit by the fact that Koeberg Unit 1 is not returned and it's 45 days late, and the fact that Kusile Unit 1, 2, and 3 is also not back, and it's likely only to be back in December this year. Between the Koeberg Unit 1 and Kusile Units 1, 2, and 3, that's over 2,000 megawatts that will then become available to the grid, and that effectively would be close to 3 stages. It's close to 3 stages of load shedding that can be averted if these units come back. Now, just a comparison between what happened in 2022 and what's happening in 2023. And again, if you look at the scale of capacity versus demand, what you have seen is that you've seen a decrease of over 3,000 megawatts that is unavailable for a significant period of time. And again, this excludes any of the unplanned failures that are happening either on a daily basis or sporadically at the generation plants. But that's 3,880 megawatts between Kusile and Koeberg that has been unavailable for a significant period of time. Then, like I said, they definitely will look at reducing the planned maintenance in the winter period and probably shift quite a bit of those into the summer months of the year, where the demand will be lower and the opportunity to do maintenance will be better. There has been an additional 75 megawatts of energized IPP brought onto the grid. And I think in terms of the programs that they run, the standard offer program, which is literally where they go to businesses or to the market, and Eskom then pays companies to actually reduce their consumption. And they've got an additional 100 megawatts that is brought in through the standard offer program. And then what you can see is there's an additional 290 megawatts from the emergency generator program, but that is only expected to come into effect towards the end of August and September. So from a capacity point of view, I think we're still fairly constrained. The demand, I think, is expected to be quite similar between 2022 and 23. I don't think that there's any particular months that will vary significantly from last year to this year. But what you do see is that you do see an increase. You do see an increase in some areas. Now, what this slide indicates is really just if the measures or interventions that are not effective by Eskom, what it means is that we will enter into load shedding stage 8. And if you look at the use of OCGTs, which is really sort of a tool that is used over the peak periods and to try and reduce the risk and the level of load shedding, you can look at the calculation in terms of, if you're running, if you have 122 days of load shedding, which we've had, you've spent about 12.1 billion rand. And at that stage, at that point, we were at stage 5. If you look at stage 6, apologies, the slide has just moved. Let me get back to that side. If you look at stage 6, and again, if you look at the base case of 1,500 megawatts and you've got 16,500 megawatts of unplanned, you will have to run the OCGTs for 152 days, and that'll cost about 12.5 billion rand. And again, if you go to stage 8, like you can see, you will have plus minus 3,000 megawatts. The base case will be the 3,000 megawatts, which will take you to the 18,000 megawatts of unplanned. You will have load shedding for 153 days. And the OCGTs, again, you would be running those units. It will cost you about 12.5 billion rand for the 153 days. Now, just looking at the months ahead and the highest stages of load shedding, again in May, if you look at historically, the peak was 32,000 in May. We had load reduction, 27 days of that. We were at stage 5 load shedding. Then we had again load reduction, and you can see at the different stages what the impact is per month. Anticipated as well, if you look at June, July, and August, is what would be the stages if we're unable to actually implement these initiatives. It will mean that we will run at stage 8, even if you do run the OCGTs, and the cost of running the OCGTs would be quite significant. So I think at the moment, the big pressure on Eskom is to make sure that you don't get to 18,000 megawatts of unplanned. You just move to the next slide. So there is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to system operator. I think the first thing to highlight is that the system is very volatile. It is not stable. And, you know, they have done schedules up to stage 8. I do know for a fact that they're looking beyond stage 8. This has not been approved yet, but there has been a draft of stages 9 to 16. It has to go through a user group, and then it has to be approved through the regulator. But those stages 8, I think once it becomes a lot clearer, and I think we will get an opportunity as provincial government to comment on those, we will get a better understanding of what is in the latter stages and what is the impact in terms of time and in terms of number of megawatts that will be required in those various stages. If I look at the winter outlook, it is extremely tight. If there's any significant slips on any of the outages, it will certainly move us closer to that 18,000 megawatts of unplanned. So really the planned activities that Eskom have, and even the unplanned recovery, the unplanned activities that have a recovery mechanism to it, they cannot afford to have slippage on any of those activities because it will move us closer to higher stages of load shedding. The one thing I do want to say, and having spoken to Eskom, is that the winter outlook does not cater for any difficulties that could arise at power stations due to things like unrest, due to things like protest, etc. This just factors in, you know, the known sort of components that they know typically would fail in the system. So really the variables have been looked at, but not everything is accounted for. I think the unavailability of Kusile and Koeberg has certainly added to the problem that they have. And like I say, if you bring those units back, you could effectively reduce load shedding by 3 stages. Now, I think what's been happening over the last few weeks in the country and in the social media is that there's been lots of questions and comments, and I think a little bit of fear mongering around, you know, a total blackout. And I think what I wanted to do today is also to indicate that the chances of having a blackout is extremely low. But I do think that the chances of increased stages of load shedding is extremely high. Now, load shedding is really the controlled reduction of the demand to match the supply. It is scheduled based on the schedules that's available to us. It is sequenced so that different areas go out at different times. And it does work on an algorithm that then looks at which areas must go out and how frequently those areas must go out. What happens in a blackout is really it's just an uncontrolled loss of energy. The entire system collapses because you've got no control, there's no mechanisms in place. You would have multiple networks as well as generation simultaneously failing. And this is normally a case where you've got, you know, either one transmission or multiple transmission lines that are out, either because of tripping or because of maintenance. And then at the same time, you have generation failure taking place. But this is more a catastrophic kind of scenario, which I think we've had once in the past in the Western Cape, but we've not had that nationally. And I think really load shedding is a mechanism that we follow in the country to be able to avert a total blackout. So I think, again, just to emphasize that we will see deeper stages of load shedding, and the idea with that would be to continue to try and avert a blackout, a total blackout. So I think some of the efforts I've seen Eskom put into reducing load shedding, I think they've been looking at how to reduce the unplanned load factor. They're trying to return the likes of Medupi Unit 6, Letabo, Tutuka Unit 2 and 3, and Matla Unit 6. I think, again, the idea is to try and keep that UCLF, that unplanned load factor, below 15,000 megawatts, and then start to address particularly some of the power stations that are synonymous with some of these trips, to try and focus on those. I think they're also trying to manage the planned maintenance by shifting out maintenance activities to the summer months to manage the load at a particular time. There has been an increase in their diesel budget, but again, I think we've seen from last year that, diesel, yes, it is an effective tool, but it's an extremely costly tool. And Eskom very quickly will run out of budget if they run diesels as baseload as opposed to peaking generation. And then I think we've seen both from a provincial level and at a national level that there is now a plan from a NECOM perspective, that there is a demand side management drive to start to manage demand in the country and start to look at initiatives that will give them an opportunity to reduce that demand. I think, just in summary, I think the efforts by Eskom to try and reduce load shedding levels are great. However, they've not yet been effective. I think we still need to see the effect of those. I think if you look at the outlook, there's huge risk of increased levels of load shedding because the EAF has not improved, and that the demand will certainly increase in the winter. And I think it's very likely that we will find ourselves going into the winter approaching stage 8. And I think the risk of a total blackout is extremely low. But this risk is increased. We will see increased stages of load shedding to avert a blackout. So, Premier, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You want me to, can I go straight into Jan Patrick? Thank you very much, Mr. Lester. And I think, as has been pointed out, we understand that this risk level is increasing, and that's why we are putting so much urgency into bringing about change. But government can do what government does, create this enabling environment and have these various projects. But what we also really welcome is when the private sector also steps in. And specifically Rheinmetall, I want to say thank you very much for the way that you have stepped in, especially in green hydrogen, which is this sort of new big thing that's happening across the world. And as an investor here in the Western Cape and in South Africa, as a company, thank you very much for stepping into that space. And so really, Jan Patrick, thank you. I really want to welcome you to this Digicon. And if I can hand over to you to let us know exactly what you've done, your investments and your vision for going forward, specifically not only your own energy, but I think the energy that you are going to be looking at providing as an investor in our region for the use of our municipalities and even nationally as a country. Jan Patrick, thank you. Over to you.
Yeah. Good morning, Premier. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks for having me in your weekly session here. I must say, I find it really informative, and it's a really transparent tool to inform your people and us here in Western Cape. And it shows also the responsibility and also the accountability that you as a government has here in Western Cape. Because these load shedding is impacting us, it's impacting the people here, and it is definitely one of the biggest tasks that you have as a government. So thanks for inviting me, and I will explain you now in the next few minutes why we are, as a RDM, Rheinmetall Denel Ammunition, with two shareholders of Rheinmetall and Denel, are in the field of renewable energy. Can you hear me? Yeah, all right. Something was frozen, but you can hear me nicely, no?
Yeah, yes, we can. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. So you introduced to us what is the future of energy looks like, and how is the private sector innovating, and I added for myself, and coping. The factor of green hydrogen you referred to is for us a mix. And you would say, or how we say here in Somerset West, so close to the winelands, it's a mix, it's a blend. where we need the hydrogen, especially the green hydrogen, to provide energy based on renewable energy. And before I start, and to explain you why our role in renewable energy, and I want to guide you through three aspects. The first aspect is the let's say the zero emission worldwide, because this is important to understand why we as Rheinmetall Lamination and Rheinmetall as a worldwide group and a worldwide technology group is taking this topic. Then I will go through to Western Cape, to Africa and Western Cape, and solving the energy crisis. What can we do as an industry? And it's not only the countermeasures and the countermeasures that we as an industry have to do, because we need to remain in production, because we have export business, we have customers worldwide, and they don't know load shedding. When we tell them we cannot produce because we have no electricity, they don't believe this in Australia, Asia, Europe, in the United States. So, but this is also for us an opportunity. I will go through this as well. So helping and opportunity. And this brings me then directly to the business case, Premier. And you said it in one of your last sessions some weeks ago when you said, and I can quote you, "And every crisis is a chance." Yeah, and we have a chance here as well, coming out of this crisis, not only as South Africa, especially here in Western Cape, to develop concrete actions now with concrete products that are available immediately, not only later on, but that we can develop in other products, in ideas, in services, which comes on top of this renewable energy industry and sector. And then the last thing, it's always to develop our people, your society, our society, and this means create jobs. Jobs that we don't have at the moment, that we will create new jobs. And I think this is an exciting way. So yeah, let's start. I think when we look at the ambitions worldwide, all the nations have different pace in the renewable, into their ambitious to become carbon neutral based on the Paris climate agreement and COP 2027. I will go through this a little bit, because it gives us the framework as an international company to support not only here in Western Cape, and to explain you why we go into hydrogen, why we go into green hydrogen for a worldwide support, because hydrogen, and I don't want to make a lessons now about the purpose of hydrogen. I will explain hydrogen, how we use it as one ingredient of our blend, because it's a significant role in our renewable energy strategy, especially for storage. And I will show you our storage capabilities, and afterwards, yeah, we have more technology that it comes out of it. But what does it mean now for Africa? Because I saw some figures that were promoted, I think, or published during the COP27, and it shows that Africa at all, yeah, of its 1.3 billion people, half of it are off grid. So that means when we talk about our load shedding, for half of the people in Africa, it's normal business, it's normal day, yeah. And the effort that needs to come in is not, we cannot only see it as an island, we have to see it in a general purpose, and the money that comes to is more, when the numbers are right that I read, it's more than, I think, 200 billion US dollar per year from 26 to reach all these carbon neutral targets, and this is quite significant. But why do I say this? I say this because the goals require from all of us the greatest possible effort, not only from you as the politicians, that's what you already said, and from the government, also from us as the industry. And this is especially important when we talk about the hydrogen later. But first, before we start, I want to tell you what we and the people, what we as Rheinmetall are doing here in Western Cape to contribute to this target to become carbon neutral, because this is our overarching strategy. The Rheinmetall Group worldwide has one task, and the task is to become carbon neutral up until 2035. And this is quite ambitious. This is around the corner, like you say, in South Africa. That's 13 years or 12 years to go. And we do it in a way that we have a clear plan on 3 items. The first item is our pure production. So our production here in 5 sites in South Africa, 3 of them in Western Cape, we will get rid of the grid, and we will create our own mini grids. That means we will go to solar. We have already started in Somerset West, and thanks, Premier, that you participated and had a welcome speech here in our groundbreaking ceremony some weeks ago. You must come today. The first panels are arriving soon, so we are progressing really fast, but we have to, when you see as well what Alvi just said, when the winter is coming, and we need to be secured from our financial point of view as well, because the load shedding is a great and big burden on this side. So we will replace all our energy consumption for electricity with solar panels. We started now in Somerset West with 5 MW, and we go then in total for all our sites to 25 MW in South Africa, and then Rheinmetall in South Africa is completely off the grid, and we have our own electricity, our own mini grids. So this is number 1. Number 2, and it's also quite easy, we need steam for our production purposes, and for this we heat with coal. We will replace this coal with different boilers, with green hydrogen boilers in the next years to come, up until 2035. So these are the big 2 things, and we are carbon neutral as a company itself. But this doesn't help, because in our supply chain, in our production chain with all our suppliers, we also must make sure that our suppliers are green. And in total, we have in South Africa 1,500 suppliers. And if they want to remain our suppliers, then they have to agree and to come with the same green way like we did it, like we do it as a company. But we don't leave them alone. We will manage this together in a partnership with them to give them our new products and to become carbon neutral as well. The third one is on smaller initiatives, and you could see some smaller initiatives that we have implemented in our plants and our sites already. So for example, one is that we change our combustion engine fleet completely into an e-mobility fleet. So we have e-buses, we have e-bikes, e-scooters. We use this for our on-site transport on our sites. We have, for example, we have our own kindergarten here in Western Cape. So this is completely already with solar panels on it, so that we create our own environment. And with these 3 initiatives, the production, the supplier, and the small initiatives, our ambition is to become carbon neutral then up until 2035. Why do I say this? I say this because our renewable energy strategy, our renewable energy business case, like we say in the business, it's not only business driven, it's driven by heart and driven by us, because we only have one world, and we are part of this as a industry leaders in our sectors, and therefore we have to contribute here as well. And to give you some figures, all in all, we're investing at the moment more than 300 million rand here in South Africa in the renewable energy. When I say this, I think it says that we have to contribute all, but when I listening the discussions in the last few months, and also the winter is coming, we talk about how can we cover the risk of Eskom, we talk about mini grids, we talk about other things, then I think we shouldn't only talk about the input of electricity, because it's clear lack of input in South Africa, therefore we have load shedding, but we also must think how we use energy. And this discussion is a little bit too short for me, because I think we can do a lot of more in insulations, how often we use energy, how we use energy. There's a lot of opportunities as well. So, but coming back to solving the energy crisis, to understand how we do this, I explained quickly our company a little bit and why we jumped into this strategy. as Regan stated 100% correctly, I'm the CEO of Rheinmetall Denel Ammunition. You can ask yourself, what is ammunition to do with hydrogen, with renewable energy? This comes from our shareholding Rheinmetall and Rheinmetall in South Africa, because Rheinmetall is a technology group. And as a technology group, we always look for the best technology. We look into the markets. Yeah, we want to be a partner. From our core business, security, we are already a partner of the governments worldwide in providing security, national security. So we are quite familiar with the topic, and we can see now for some months, you can see it in the world market, in the global work, that energy is quite crucial. In Germany, after the European war now, they made experience of being dependent on one country. We in South Africa, we have our experience now with load shedding. So energy is becoming also part of the national security, and therefore we believe this is in our approach where we as a company, Rheinmetall, can help. In South Africa, in total, we have 5 production sites. And when you produce defense products, especially ammunition, then you are a chemical company. So we are a chemical company. We produce PTN, RDX, for example, as well for the mining industry. And with this chemical expertise, also aluminium sulfate for our Western Cape water purification, by the way. I hope that you are happy with the quality so far. And with this competence of chemical engineering, and next to it, we have a competence of plant engineering. So we build factories worldwide. So we merged this, we brought this together and said, let's build hydrogen and green hydrogen factories. So this is what we are doing, and this is how we want to contribute. And we have to contribute because the load shedding situation, not only for Western Cape, not only for the people at home, and we all feel it every day, also for the industry is quite a significant burden. And when you look into the figures, that the load shedding is causing and the outages cost nearly 2 to 4% of the GDP here in South Africa, then you can see that we as an industry are struggling on this one to remain competitive. We have more costs. I can tell you last year, only as an indication, we spent lots of 100 millions of rand in preventing load shedding, overtime, generators, fuel. This is what we had to do. And I would love to spend this in social projects, in investments, because a lot of money, when you talk about 200-300 million rand, you can spend it for better things than for fuel, I would say. So coming back to the green hydrogen, as I said from the beginning, green hydrogen is part of our blend here in close to the winelands. It's our mixture to provide energy. And we use this electrolysis process for us to store the renewable energy. And to be honest, the hydrogen topic is not old. It's not young. It's not a new development because we have energy problems or we want to go into carbon neutral. No, hydrogen is in the world for many, many years. There was a great push in the 90s, but there was always a lack of, let's say, cost competitiveness. It was always not competitive enough with coal, with oil, so no one uses. This changed completely now when you look into the world market because of the commitments of the government to become carbon neutral. So Germany, for example, from our shareholder Rheinmetall, Germany will want to become carbon neutral in 2035. So they need a lot of hydrogen to store their renewable energy and to store the energy coming from wind, coming from solar, and coming from hydro. And therefore they went into strategy corporations with South Africa, for example, with other countries as well. And it's a huge opportunity for us in South Africa and here in Western Cape to become a global player because you can produce the green hydrogen here and to export. This is what we want to do. So therefore, the green hydrogen is for us a storage possibility for our nice South African sun. So I always say we want to transport the nice South African sun to rainy Germany, but today it's the other way around, by the way, when you look out of the window, and in Germany as well. So that means, number one, we will produce it. When we will produce it, I cannot tell you now, because in big numbers, I think there must be a market balance somewhere. Because at the moment, the industry, you could argue, where's the off-taker basis? The government says, where's the industry? The price is still too high. We talk about numbers like $8 per kilogram. This is far too much. We must at least be somewhere at 5, 3, 2, to be competitive somewhere. And we will get there in the next years to come, when we have developed more efficient way of electrolyzers and so on. What we have done in the meantime, purely for South Africa, and this is now solving the energy crisis in South Africa as well, we have a self-contained system that produces and can store green hydrogen using renewable energy out of solar. So this is what we have done. We have in total 4 sea containers at the moment. Some of you have already seen it in person or in some of the exhibitions that we had there. It's more than half a year old now. And this is only an example of an open architecture that we have provided now, or that we have integrated in 4 containers to show that it's completely scalable, upscalable and downscalable. So the setup that we have at the moment are in total in 1 container, more than 200 solar panels, 225, which production is nearly 600 kilowatt hour per day. And what we are doing with this, we provide the green for the green hydrogen. This comes out from our solar panels. The second container that we have is where we have the electrolyzer. So this is where we produce hydrogen out of the green solar, so out of the green hydrogen. The electrolyzer that we have can produce more or less 10 kilograms per day. As I said, we can scale it up, we can scale it down, like our partners need it. And next to it, it's quite nice when you produce hydrogen, then you split the water, you have hydrogen, you have oxygen, then we produce in the same amount, at the same time, more or less, the 10 times more oxygen, so 100 kilograms of oxygen, which is a quite nice waste product, because you can use it for applications, for example, when you provide the system for hospitals. Then you not only have 24/7 electricity, no, you also have then the oxygen for the patients. We still have to go a little bit on the road to get certified, because the oxygen must be medical oxygen. The container number 3 is then the storage, and the storage shows how we as an industry, how we as Rheinmetall want to work. So at the moment we have normal gas bottles there, like you find it everywhere, 270 bar. We store the hydrogen in this one, but this is for us not the future. The future is for us to invest in the storage system, because the storage will be key. The storage will be key to export the green hydrogen. The storage will be key to bring it from A to B here in South Africa, because we handle gas, and gas is not that easy. We have, for example, the capability here in Somerset West of composite. We use it for our missiles, for example. They are out of composite. And with our German colleagues of Rheinmetall, we develop at the moment new types of storage forms out of composite. You see already that we as a technology house wants to go into a vertical integration, and we do it with this storage as well. In the 4th container, you have then the fuel cell, for example. So the fuel cell gives the energy back into the grid, so that we can, with this system, we have nearly 107 kilowatt hours. So more or less, we can provide 15, 20 households with energy with the system. And this is something that is already available, and that we want to integrate here as well to minimize the impact of load shedding. Number 2, and this is now the second leg of our renewable energy strategy, our blend. What I said is then the solar, because of if you want to produce green hydrogen, you need a lot of solar here in South Africa, and we decided to go to solar because our 5 sites are in a good spot for solar, better than wind. And we have in total, that's also good news, we have more than 5,500 hectare land, and that means we have space for a lot of solar. So instead of buying in solar from China, because this is where the 98% of the solar panels are coming from worldwide. They're coming from China, so we are also dependent there. We decided to go our own way, and we decided to have a vertical integration. What does it mean now? We want to have the capability in the company. That means the solar farm that you have already seen here, that is here, is together with our partner, where we do full turnkey solutions already. This will be the first bigger one with 5 megawatts that we are doing. And then we design, we construct, and we operate solar farms as the EPC, however you name it. And we start, like the shoemaker, we start with ourselves, and we implement it now here in Somerset West. As I said, we as a system house, and this is where we're coming from security, we are fully vertical integrated, and we want to go this route as well. So that means the next step is to become, I don't say independent from China, because 98% of the solar panels are coming from China. I say we want to produce our own solar panels here in South Africa, and we have the ambitions to localize this, manufacture this as well. Together with a technology partner, we are in the last stage to choose the right technology partner, because we don't want to have, let's say, the technology which is available in the market, which come from China, because it's 15 years old, more or less from Germany, from this technology. But we want to invest in the next technology, where we have, instead of 25 years, we have 40 years lifespan. We have 25% more efficiency. This is what we as Rheinmetall want to provide, and then we will manufacture this as well. So you see the whole value stream. This is my last sentence. From hydrogen, export hydrogen, provide hydrogen solution as a generator, to design and construct solar farms, up until the training of the people and manufacturing of the solar farms. So that means, in a summary, as I said, for us as Rheinmetall, as a worldwide company, and for my colleagues in this company, the zero emission trends worldwide are important. Great opportunity for South Africa. We want to export the hydrogen. To solve the energy crisis here, we remain committed to stay here as an industry and to help with our blending approach, in exporting and providing the hydrogen, in designing the solar farms, manufacturing solar farm panels here. And I think with our setup that we have done now here in Somerset West, is a quite good opportunity to expand for more requirements, especially in the Western Cape and city of Cape Town, for solar farms, and also in the mix with the hydrogen, batteries, inverters for other projects that you do. And then I think we come to the business case automatically, because we have then invested so much effort in solving our own problems, that we are so knowledgeable that we can do a business out of it and create jobs here in Western Cape. All right, thanks, Premier. And I just read from my guys that we also have Africa Day today, the 60th, by the way. So sorry that I don't have any traditional African clothes on it, but at least you see here in the background, we have the assegai sword, like our product's name, that we need also sometimes now for giving other guys who are also decision makers some pizzas. And the protection there as well, we need this for the winter, I think, and a jacket, obviously. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Jan Patrick Helmsen, the CEO, Rheinmetall here in South Africa, really showing you a proactive investor who already has invested in manufacturing, but now saying, what are the other opportunities coming out of a crisis? And it's exactly that. How do we use this crisis to the benefit of our region? I think also mentioning that half of the citizens of this continent, and saying it's Africa Day, we're mindful that 50% of the citizens of this continent actually don't have electricity for cooking or for lighting or for heating. So it is a major issue that this continent faces. Of course, right down here in the south, we're facing an energy shortage, but what are the opportunities out of it, and how can we find opportunities? And it really is great to have an investor that's also saying, well, they want to be part of those opportunities, not only for themselves to make themselves competitive, but they actually see opportunity for the benefit of society altogether. And you also said that, of course, these costs take away from your social projects, but also being there myself, seeing the social projects that you invest in anyway in the local community. We want to thank you for that too. You know, a responsible investor in the region. That's really great to see, and finding solutions and pushing boundaries into the green hydrogen space for me is very exciting, because we know there's an opportunity, and it really is about early adopters and people who are prepared to take risk and move into this new environment. So I want to say thank you very much for what you're doing here in the region as a responsible global company playing their part here in the South and helping us with our green energy transition. We are really grateful. So thank you very much for coming on. And now I'm going to hand back to Regan, because of course we need to see if there are any questions. And so Regan, back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. Yes, thank you, Premier. I've noticed 2 questions have been WhatsApped to me, and they are specifically directed towards Mr. Helmsen. Although I do think Mr. Lester might want to venture into some of these questions. So let's start with these questions. To Mr. Helmsen, how will your company assist, and specifically in your exploration of green hydrogen, how will this assist in alleviating South Africa's energy crisis? And will Rheinmetall denomination be able to supply energy to the province in one way or another? So to tap into the province's grid to try and alleviate load shedding in this province. Those 2 questions to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Regan, and thanks for the question. Is a pure yes, 100%. And the outcome of our blending, yeah, is then we want to become an energy supplier. Because as I said, we have 5,500 hectares. We just started to secure ourselves with 25 megawatt. On top of this, we will feed into the grid as a supplier. And then not my vision, my target is that you all can go, like you do it in Europe, for example, at one stage, not tomorrow, but one stage you can go into your app, your electricity app, and you can choose your energy supplier where you want to buy your energy. And then you can go to Rheinmetall and you buy Rheinmetall green renewable energy electricity. So this is what we are doing. But what we are also doing immediately is when we provide our own solution. So for example, from now, when the 5 megawatt plant is ready in some weeks' time, then we are off the grid. But then we stabilize the grid as well. Yeah, because the grid's going up and down, and Alvi showed this. I'm thankful that obviously the risk for a complete shutdown is not that high. This is good to hear from an industry point of view and security. But we will have these peaks and ups and downs. And when we stabilize the grid, yeah, because we have the solar farm here, we have a backup position, then it helps immediately. And immediately plus some months, to answer your question completely, is then that we can support with solar farms in running them and building them for the municipalities, and providing then with our mobile hydrogen solution electricity everywhere where you need to have it.
There's just one last question here, and it's directed to yourself. And somebody just asking in layman's terms, maybe in one neat sentence or paragraph, what exactly is green hydrogen?
Yeah, green hydrogen is easy to explain because it's hydrogen made out of renewable energy, and this is what it makes it green. So this was the sentence. I added in brackets now. As I said, the hydrogen topic itself, when it was established, it's a physical process where we split the water into oxygen and into hydrogen, and we use the hydrogen as a storage system. And this is not new, but we don't want to have this gray hydrogen. We don't want to have the blue hydrogen because we still have carbons on it. Yeah, we are focusing on green hydrogen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Helmsen. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're running out of time, so I'm going to go straight over to Mr. Lester for your tip of the week. Alvi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Premier. I think I just want to tell people that you might not know this, but electricity travels at the speed of light. Now, the speed of light is actually about 300,000 kilometers per second. Now, if you imagine that electricity is traveling at such a speed, you need to understand that the risk of electrocution, depending on the voltage level, is extremely high, and it doesn't require you to actually be in contact with the equipment. It just needs you to be in close proximity to that equipment. Because it's traveling at such a high speed, it's able to actually jump between pieces of metal. And if you find yourself in between that spaces, like I say, you don't have to be touching the cable or touching the piece of equipment. It's just because of the voltage and the speed at which it moves, you are at risk. So I think people must always consider the fact that electricity specifically is not a simple technology, and it is high risk and should be treated in that way. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lester. Thank you very much, Mr. Helmsen. I want to say to all the viewers, the listeners, thank you very much for tuning in to this Digicon, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.